57% of Gen Zs are favorable to socialism, according to a recent poll. And I see many people on social media losing their mind over this. And they give the usual explanations. Oh, it's the woke education system, TikTok is brainwashing our kids and all that stuff. And there's definitely something to it. However, a deep reason for socialism's appeal reveals itself if we bother to check out another finding from that very same poll. And according to it, 39% of Republican voters agree with the principles of socialism. Let me repeat that. Almost 40% of Republicans think that socialism is good in theory. And to me, it's very clear that if you want to understand the first finding, that Gen Zs are in love with socialism, you first have to grasp the second finding, that so many conservatives aren't even really opposed to the essence of socialism. Now, if we worry about the rise of socialism, then we have to understand its appeal. And it's definitely not its track records. I mean, we know it has left everywhere economic and social ruin. And it's definitely not any theoretical coherence, because socialism hasn't got much coherence. And also, most socialists don't even bother with reading the theory. I mean, how many of your leftists' friends have really read Marx or Marcuse or whatever? So the truth is that socialism has one and only one thing going on for it. It is that socialists can claim the moral high ground. They can say, yes, we might have left destruction and ruins behind us, but at least it was all for a good cause. We had noble intentions. So what are these noble intentions of socialism? What is its moral message? Well, the message is some version of the haves need to give to the have-nots. You have a duty to sacrifice to society. It's some version of what Marx said. From each according to ability to each according to need. And we have to understand, people, this is oxygen for the left. As long as people accept that this message is moral, the leftists will always be viewed as the good guys, no matter what they do, no matter how bad the record is. Now, how do conservatives, but also centrists or classical liberals, what is their attitude towards the morality of the left? And the answer is they basically agree with it. They agree that, yeah, sure, you need to sacrifice for the common good. They might disagree with the leftists on the specifics. For example, leftists might say you owe 56% of your income to society, and conservatives will say, oh, come on, no, 56 is too much. You owe 35% of your income to society. But you see, since they have agreed on the principle that society has the right to exhort you and coerce you, and that it is good to do so, then their disagreements on the specifics carry very little significance. Because if it is good to sacrifice for others, no questions asked, why sacrifice only 35%? Why not 50%? Why not 80%? So you see, people, conservatives and the right in general, they oppose and they have opposed the politics of Marxism. And yet they fully endorse the foundation, the basis, the lifeline that keeps Marxism alive. And that is its morality, the morality of socialism. And you might say, wait, what? Conservatives don't believe in the from each according to ability to each according to need? Really? Because think about it. What about progressive taxation, which is like every government in the world is in favor of it? What is progressive taxation? It is the more you have produced, the more you have built, the more you have created, the more you owe society. The more successful you are, the more you have to give away. Doesn't this sound a bit like from each according to ability to each according to need? And do you know many conservatives or centrists who are opposed to some form of progressive taxation? And again, they might prefer one tax system over the other for technical reasons, this is more efficient. But they never question the principle. But here's the thing, people. Once you concede the principle, then you have lost the high ground. Because if indeed sacrifice and, quote, service, if these are the moral ideals, then young idealistic people will sooner or later go to the most consistent advocates of these principles. They will go to the left. As Ayn Rand put it in a brilliant essay called The Anatomy of Compromise, she said something like, in any conflict between two groups of people who hold the same basic principles, it is the most consistent group which will win. And of course, we know the most consistent group in advocating sacrifice and advocating, you owe society and all that stuff, is the left. And this is why the left will win eventually. Because we've never stopped for 1 second to question its principles. The principles of self-sacrifice and, quote, service. And we haven't been able to see the obvious, the thing staring us in the eye. That the left has been a disaster not because it is a good idea, as apparently so many conservatives think, that hasn't worked in practice. It has failed because it is a horrible idea based on horrible principles. And of course, this horrible idea works in practice exactly as it should be expected to work. And conservatives don't understand this. They don't want to understand it. Because if they understand it, it will shake their religious morality. So they evade, they try not to see. And here's how we live in a world where 57% of Gen Zs are infatuated with socialism. So maybe it's time for anyone who doesn't want socialism to win to test and to challenge their moral principles. Because if your moral principles lead to socialism, then maybe, just maybe, something is wrong with these principles. Thank you for your time.